Yo, what's up, guys? This is finally the first ever Rude Behavior podcast, episode 1, with your host, Diego Luna. And of course, my guest today, Wesley Swanson, aka producer, aka leader of the Horror Film Society. No, I'm just kidding. Fucking founder of Drop the Mic. How you doing, Wesley?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me.
It's about time we do this. I know we've been teasing it for so fucking long.
Yeah.
But it's finally here. We're finally ready to do this shit. So let me start off with one question. How did this podcast come about?
All right, that's a good one, man. I've actually been asked that quite a few times. So, as the story goes, a couple Comic-Cons ago, I used to work at that convention center. Not anymore, but when I worked there, I was able to be in Hall H, and somebody by the name of Kevin Smith had his.
We're not dropping names.
Had his own panel, where he kind of just shoots the shit with the audience and tells random stories. There's a lot of stuff about Star Wars, and he talked about his various podcasts that he's involved with, and how easy it is to start one, and how it's a really cool way to kind of get out into the world and let people hear your voice and what you're into, and it can be, a podcast can really be whatever you want it to be about.
Very true. That's why this podcast is a kind of a new thing for me. Well, not a new thing, but a solo one is a new thing for me.
Yeah.
But actually, how did you come up about the movie theme for your podcast?
Well, okay. All right. So with the topic of the show being, mainly based around movies and television and just pop culture, I guess in general, that's what I was immersed in as a kid, and that's what I guess I know best. I went to college for film.
Oh shit.
I studied it for a few years, and of course I know a lot about it. Off the books, I guess, as you would say. Mm-hmm. And it was just something I've always kind of wanted to low-key be a critic, I guess, and it's fun analyzing film, whether it be good or bad, and I guess that's pretty much why I chose that. It's just because I thought it was something that I could be good at, and from week to week, because I wanted to do the show so often, I wanted to pick something that I could be comfortable with talking about all the time and I wouldn't get sick of. And movies are so intertwined with my DNA that it's never going to stop for me. So that's why I thought that would be the best bet for me personally.
Yeah. And I love your podcast. Obviously, I now join. I'm now a co-host.
Thank you for that,
James. That was an honor, by the way, to have for you to ask me.
Yeah.
After a long projects that I've done, and me not sticking around with one project, I'm glad I'm sticking with Drop the Mic and now Rude Behavior. Yeah. But how did you and James come about? Like, how did you and James kind of meet? What was when was the meeting? When did you guys fuck each other?
Oh well, we're getting intimate here on Rude Behavior.
That's what it is. It's Rude Behavior.
Pick it up. No, okay. To answer your question, so you want to know how me and my co-host James Warney came to fruition? Well, we've known each other for so. I won't drop the name of the job that we met at, but we were at a job together simultaneously for just about 8 years, and we didn't really talk to each other until this past maybe two years ago. We started talking right before I started the podcast. he heard me, I think, talking, or one of us heard the other one talking about a movie that we mutually liked, and that was kind of it. I think it was Drive with Ryan Gosling. We started talking about the soundtrack, and then from there. Every day we would see each other at this job. We would, talk about different things in pop culture or things that were being made at the time, and then, I started the podcast with my other ex-co-host, Dennis, who, he ultimately left. But so then I ultimately asked James, like, hey, do you want to be a guest on the show every once in a while and come on and help us with like a third kind of opinion and help push the because I think like with the more voices on the show, the more interesting and more layers there are to it for an episode, and I think that's really interesting to interview someone or just to kind of chit chat and get in, pick the mind of somebody new. So. And because I know James knows a lot about pop culture and even like the Marvel and DC stuff, he would come on and we kind of hit it off, and I could tell that he was having a lot of fun. And then he started coming on more and more. And then things happened and Dennis wasn't on the show anymore. And then James just kind of he slid up in there.
That sounds kind of wrong, but all right.
It was wrong.
The originators was you and Dennis originally?
Yes.
The first incarnation of Drop the Mic?
Yes. The early years of Drop the Mic, so to speak. We started off, so our first 3 episodes were basically analyzing the Scream trilogy.
Oh, nice.
Or not trilogy, because there's 4. We did 1, 2, 3, and 4, and Dennis hadn't seen any of them.
Oh.
So that's why I was like, this is a perfect way to kind of jump into the podcast game. I'm going to get, my buddy Dennis. He's never seen these movies. He's really quick to talk shit on Ghostface and how Ghostface is kind of like lame and cheesy. And Scream is one of my favorite horror films of all time, the first one. And so I was really adamant about getting him to sit down and sitting next to him and having him watch this movie and kind of see that he was wrong for all these years and not giving it a chance. And I pretty much, I think I succeeded in that. He liked them all. I think he liked the 4th one the best, oddly enough, even though I really love Scream 4. I thought it was good for when it came out. And yeah, it kind of all stemmed from there, about me wanting to show my friends something new and kind of document it in this new format. And it was so fun. Of course, back then we didn't have the really like neat, tight structure that we have now.
Yeah.
It was more just a straight up interview. I always did the intros and outros because that's something that in my mind I pictured having.
Yeah.
I have always wanted to do the fade in, fade out. Being a film student, I wanted to feel tight, you know what I mean? In a way, but yeah, it was more so just a straight up interview, and it wasn't. He lasted longer than just those 4 episodes. We did a couple double features, and it was pretty fun. And then I don't know what happened to my buddy, but he just didn't have the time. I think he was just too stressed out with everyday life.
Yeah.
And he just couldn't show up anymore, and I have nothing against him. I wish him the best. And yeah. Sorry for that long answer.
No. I love it because it gave me intel into the origins of Drop the Mic, and how, which is ironic because I just went to your first screening this year.
Yeah.
But not your first screening in general. But your first screening this year was Blue Valentine.
Yeah.
And actually, I want to touch about you going into fucking Digital Gym.
Okay.
How did that come about? Because I know a lot of people in the community try to do screenings and it's nearly kind of I wouldn't say impossible, but it's kind of hard for people to actually have events there and stuff, and it's very hush-hush kind of thing.
Yeah.
So can you please elaborate as to how did you come about to do screenings at Digital Gym?
First and foremost, I was I've been going to Digital Gym since they've opened.
Yeah.
And I'm basically a loyal customer, and I've always loved what they do for the community. I'm born and raised in North Park. They're in North Park, right off El Cajon Boulevard and 30th. And I just kind of I had heard that you could rent out their certain areas of their property for birthdays and different things, or just to play video games or whatever you want. So I figured, since Digital Gym was offering all of these things to regular people, how would we be able to go about kind of setting up a screening? And so I thought about it. I think I sat on it for about a year or so, and saved up a little money, and I finally kind of emailed them, and they emailed me right back, and they told me, what were you thinking, and basically gave me an outline of everything that we would need. And so I sat on it for a little bit more, and then that's when we came up with doing Logan.
The black and white.
Not just the regular Logan, because Logan had already been out, and I was like, you know what? It would be This would be a perfect way to promote the podcast by getting the monochromatic version of Logan, because I was pissed as a fan that they never brought it to San Diego.
Oh, because it was around for a minute in different cities, right?
Yeah, the closest I think was LA for the black and white, of course. And so that's the thing, is I was like, I'm not the only one that can be hungry for this.
Yes. And
so I talked to them. They were on board with it. We were able to swing all the rights from it was
20th Century Fox.
And and I guess the rest is history. We were able to print T-shirts, and it was a crazy night when that night finally came. Again, I did lots of guerrilla marketing.
Oh shit!
Online, word of mouth through the area, physical flyers. Social media flyers, over and over and over again. You just got to get yourself out there and do that as much as possible to get it in people's heads, especially getting it in their heads before that date, a good while before the date, so they have the time to request that day off or whatever have you, different schedules. But when the night come, it was a huge success, and it was packed.
Nice. And I know you guys had another screening after that. What was that?
We did Mad Max next.
Nice.
And that was also the monochromatic one.
Yeah.
That I don't think they ever did it in San Diego. So I was like, well, if anybody knows anything about me, I'm a big Mad Max fan. I have been since I was a kid, and a lot of people didn't like Fury Road, but I loved it.
It's a really well put movie. I'll give it that. It's a really good, well put movie.
And then, of course, I love Tom Hardy. Charlize Theron with a shaved head is pretty nuts. So we did that, and people. That was even more packed. That was I think a bigger success than Logan somehow. And then we did, was it a year later, we did Evil Dead for Halloween. Last Halloween.
Nice.
We did the Evil Dead remake. Not the classic.
Not the classic one.
Which I'm sure a lot of people were bummed about, but we did the remake, and we had, it was definitely not as big of a crowd, probably because horror is a small